Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 26 of Not the Worsted Knitting Podcast. My name is Michelle, and I am the knitter and knitwear designer behind meeshyfrazz Knits. I'm sure you can see we've got some bagel feet. We like to call them his fish sticks because they're just like cute little nubs of feet. Anyway, so Bagel is off to the side playing with his little whippy toy. I am coming to you from a very cloudy, very rainy Pacific Northwest day. Honestly, it's not even just today. It's been like this for days now, but this is the perfect fall weather. I love it when it's like this. It's very cool outside. It's perfect for me to wear my knits. And so we've just got a couple of things to talk about today. Last week was crazy, so I didn't get a ton of knitting done, but I have some progress. And then I do also have a new project that you guys haven't seen. So we will chat about that. I don't know what just happened, but in my viewfinder, I just saw like maybe bagel tail. I don't even know what that was. Anyway, maybe I'll see this in editing, who knows. Anyway, moving on. So before I get into any of that, I do just want to quickly say thank you so much for all of your positivity and kind words about my Trim the Tree patterns. It's really cool to see. I feel like you guys were as excited as I was about these patterns. So many of you have already started your own versions. Thank you. If you have sent me photos of your works in progress, thank you so much. I love it. I love to see when you share with me when it's a pattern that I designed and you're sharing your progress on it. I love that so much. Like, it's really cool to see my designs like in the wild. So yeah, definitely if you're working on those and you're posting them on Instagram, definitely make sure to tag me at meeshyfrazz so I can see it. And then also if you use Ravelry and you are doing a project page, make sure to link it to the pattern so I can see it, because it's been so fun to just see all of your different versions, and it's really cool that so many people have been sending them to me. So thank you so much. I just love it, and I'm happy to see that you guys are loving it as much as I am. So thank you for that. And also, when this video airs, I believe the sale will still be going on, so don't miss that sale. I'll put it up here again. There's only a few days left for the sale, so don't miss out. So why don't we go ahead and get started? We'll move right into what I'm wearing. If you have watched one of my previous episodes, it was my most and least worn fall knits video. If you've seen that, then you will be familiar with this. I am wearing the Weekender Light, and this is a pattern by Andrea Mowry. It is it's a bottom-up drop shoulder sweater. You actually knit it inside out, and then that way you get the seam, but everything else is like the wrong side of the fabric. And then at the very end, you flip it right side out, and then you work the sleeves normally. So because of that, I did make some modifications with this pattern, just for what I wanted. So first off, in this pattern, she recommends using Brooklyn Tweed Loft, which is it's technically a fingering weight yarn, but it's woolen spun and it's a little bit thick and thin. So when I've used Loft previously, I definitely got more of like a DK weight gauge almost. Like, I would say sport to DK, just depending. And on top of that, since I'd already done a sweater in Loft, I kind of wanted to try something a little bit different. And I wanted something to where, even though you were going to be seeing the wrong side of the fabric, I didn't want that to be super obvious. So I wanted something that wasn't really going to highlight stitch definition very well. So I ended up using Juniper Moon Farm Herriot Fine, and this is in the color Jadeite. This is literally all I have left from it. I purchased 3 skeins, and I used 2 full and then most of the third. Like I said, this is all I have left. I've got the exact yardage and everything on my project page, and also if you're interested in like deeper dive, I've got all the info about that in my most and least worn fall knits video. But this yarn that I used, it's a light fingering. So I ended up not getting gauge with it, but I still wanted to use it because, so this is a 75% alpaca, 25% nylon, and that alpaca, I'm gonna try and see if you can see that. I'm hoping you can see the definition. That alpaca makes it very fuzzy. It gives it such a halo that even side by side, looking at the wrong side and the right side of the fabric, you don't really notice it, and that's exactly what I was going for. So I decided to go with this, and because of my gauge being off, both stitch gauge and row gauge, which is actually very important because you are joining sleeves and you need the proper armhole depth, I ended up doing a very modified version of knitting size 3 for width and 4 for length, I believe. And that was to achieve somewhere around a size 2 to 3 in fit, which I believe gave a finished measurement of about 42 inches in the width. And I've got I think I have all of my modifications written out on my project page. So take a look at that if you're interested. But long story short, it ended up being the perfect fit. This fits me so well. I love this sweater. I really love this sweater. It feels very sweatshirty and cozy. So on a day like today where I just want to be kind of bundled and cozy but not too hot, this is a really good one to wear. It's also one that, like, you could technically say that, you know, the yarn is getting fuzzy, but it's not. I guess you could say it's technically pilling, but I actually think that pilling leads to a nice fuzzy look, which it almost gives it the appearance and feel of like you were holding something like Surrey or mohair with it. So I really like the more I wear it and the more fuzzy it gets, I kind of really like that. So this is a great sweater. The only thing I would do differently, which I did talk about previously, is if I knit this again, I don't think I would bind off quite so many stitches here. I would leave more room. Oh wait, no, I take that back. I would bind off more stitches so that the neck hole would be bigger. Basically, you bind off here and then then you join it on the shoulders. And I wish that I had bound off a little bit more. That might partially just be because of my mix in gauge, that might have been a number that maybe I should have gone up a little more on, but I wasn't thinking about when I did. Although I did see there were several people that kind of complained about that for this pattern. So if you're thinking about making this pattern, I definitely would. It's a great pattern, but just consider maybe giving yourself a little bit more room in the neck hole, because that is the one thing I do find myself doing, is just kind of pulling at that a little bit, and that can be a little bit annoying at times. So it's definitely not something I can wear if I'm warm at all, just because you've got this fuzzy alpaca that's like right at the neck. But on a day like today, it's perfect, and I'm really enjoying wearing it. So that is what I'm wearing, and why don't we just go ahead and get into my works in progress for the week. So this one, my first work in progress, unfortunately is still a work in progress, but we are so close. So if you have been watching, then you will recognize this, but if you are new here, this is my Robinia sweater by Ventzel. And this is yet another one that I didn't get close to gauge on. So I am knitting the size 3 in order to get the fit of about a 42-inch bust, which is about 8 to 9 inches of positive ease. And everything is going really well. So last time I talked to you guys, I had just started the sleeve. I was probably actually about where I am now on the second sleeve, if I'm being honest. So I had just started the sleeve, and I realized that she had a whole section on short row shaping for the sleeves, and I think it's to give it that very voluminous, large feeling over the shoulder. Completely missed that, didn't even see the instructions for it when I was knitting, and by the time I realized it, I just couldn't be bothered to go back, and I don't know, I just don't feel like doing short rows on a sleeve. So I didn't do it, because I figured this is still a big sleeve for me, right? Like, it's still going to be a very oversized sleeve, and I am still going to be doing a taper down at the cuff, so I feel like it's dramatic enough and it's still gonna give me the look that I want. So I did 7 chart repeats until I got to the length that I thought was good for my arm. And then I did the decreases. Let's see, it's green against green. Hopefully you can see that okay. And it's 2 sets of decreases that you do. So you do a set of decreases basically once you stop your charting, and then you knit a little bit more length, and then you do another set of decreases, and then you do your twisted rib, and then you do your tubular bind off, which I did. This bind off went much smoother than the body bind off, which is great. It only took me about 20 minutes, which is a relief, but that's also because it was significantly less stitches at this point. And I tried it on and I'm feeling really good about it. I actually really like the way the sleeve looks, so I'm glad I didn't do the short row shaping, because I don't know if, I mean, I guess it would have made it a little more dramatic, but I actually don't even know if I would have liked that as much, because this is already going to be an oversized sweater on me. So I don't know if I need to have like the whole Michelin Man thing where it's just like everywhere. So yeah, so that was the modification that I made for the sleeve, is just not doing short row shaping. And let's see, I am on the 3rd chart repeat now on the 2nd sleeve. So that is chart repeat 3 of 7. So I've got a bit to go, but I'm so close. It's really funny. I feel like I should just have like a tally of when I say things on this podcast that I know are going to end up with my foot in my mouth. So I think it was last episode where I was like, oh, I don't ever get second sleeve syndrome, because by the time I get to the 2nd sleeve, I'm so excited. So I'm not technically having second sleeve syndrome. Oh my God, I can't even say it. I fully had 1st sleeve syndrome though. I don't know. It was just something about, it's so funny because I feel like the body flew. And once I got to the sleeves, it's like there was something, it was interesting because it was almost like a sensory issue that I was having where, so I had to switch to my shorty needles for the sleeve. And I mean, I've used them a million times. I always use the shorties for my sleeves. It's not an issue. But it was almost like there was something about this yarn, which I just realized I haven't even mentioned yet. So I am using Illimani Amelie in the colors Hunter Green and Bone. And this is the blown yarn, and the blown fibers are mostly alpaca, and there's a tiny bit of merino, and then the chain that it's in, the tube, is silk. So I don't know if it's something about the fibers in the yarn or what. This is like the most delightful, softest yarn ever, and it's been such a joy to work with until I got to putting it on the shorties. And I think that maybe the shorty needles are like slightly less smooth, and I'm guessing maybe that's because you're on a small circumference and it's actually trying to grip the yarn. This is all, I'm just assuming here, like I don't know if any of this is true, and maybe I'm making all of this up and it's all in my head. But I did like a test where I was feeling the shorty needle compared to the normal needle, and it felt just slightly less smooth. And what I was noticing while I was knitting this up is that the stitches just didn't want to leave my needle. And I was like, the whole time I'm just like shoving the stitches down my needle to get them out so I can knit them. And just that little extra motion, it was just really uncomfortable. I just really didn't enjoy it on my hands. I found I kept putting it down. So this first sleeve just took me a lot longer than I thought. I thought for sure I was going to just plow through these sleeves because it's bulky weight yarn. But yeah, this just took me a really long time. Also, it seems like it just got really dark. I'm really hoping that it's not like crazy dark in here. So hopefully you can see everything okay. I don't know. I'm looking at my viewfinder and I'm like, I can like barely see. God. So I don't know if that means it's about to downpour. Like it's been drizzling, but I'm wondering if it's gonna like just pour in a second. So if it starts to get really loud, that's probably why. So yeah, let me know your experience with really fuzzy yarns on shorty needles. If you've noticed this, or if I am just like all in my head. Maybe it's just I'm slowing down on this and I don't know why, so I'm coming up with like imaginary reasons. But it does seem like it's just ever so much more sticky on the shorties with this yarn, and it's just made the sleeves not the most joyous to knit, which is funny because knitting the rest of this body was just so nice. So I thought about switching to magic loop, but at this point, like I thought about it actually about halfway through my sleeve, but I'm very wary about switching from shorties to magic loop just in general in the middle of a project, just because I think the gauge would change too much and I didn't want to risk any sort of like weird laddering or anything at all. I was like, I'm so close at this point. You're on the sleeves, just finish it up. And then for this one, I'm like, well, I didn't want this sleeve to end up wildly different than this one. So I don't know. We're just going with it. It'll be my hope is that this will be done by next video and then it won't be an issue anymore, because let's be honest, we're very close. We are very, very close. That's the back. Here's the front. So yeah, Robinia sweater, almost done. Very excited to wear it. If you are just joining and seeing this, if you notice there, you might notice that it changes a little bit about halfway. The upper portion has been blocked. The lower portion and the sleeves have not. So that is why it might look a little bit different. I think you can even see the line where it was blocked and not blocked. So the rest of it should loosen up a little bit. This yarn is so dreamy post-blocking. Like, it's so nice before you block it, but after you block it, it's just crazy how soft this yarn is. Like, I cannot get over it. So if you've seen this yarn and you're contemplating using it, definitely use it. Maybe don't use it with shorties, but if you just use it with regular metal needles, it'll be super great. So Robinia, almost done. We are close. I'm thinking next week we're gonna be there. Oh, one more thing. This is not a big deal or anything, but I am using, hopefully you can see that, I've got my new stitch markers in use, my little Christmas lights. Unfortunately, like I said, I got my Christmas light stitch markers. Actually, I still have the rest of them in the package. I haven't even pulled these out of the package yet because I got these for my Trim the Tree patterns, but I got them after I finished. But I am at least using it on this, and then I'm planning to break all of those out and use them for whatever big sweater I knit next. But yeah, it's so fun to have this little guy, this little Christmas light stitch marker. So yeah, that's everything for the Robinia sweater. And then I only actually have one other work in progress to show you. This is new, and I'm dropping yarn all over the floor. I gotta get that away before Bagel sees it. Oh my God. Okay, so I have one more project, and actually, before I talk about anything, I'm gonna be talking about Christmas gifts. So Thomas, if you are watching, please stop watching now, because I'm chatting about Christmas gifts and ideas, and so you gotta go. So bye, Thomas. Okay, I'm assuming he has shut the video off by now. He watches some of my videos, not all of them. He's a little bit behind, so I think we're okay, so I'm not too worried, but I just wanted to put that out there in case he's got that on while he is doing something. So I totally spoiled that too. I was gonna try and say it in a way where he wouldn't know if it was knit or just me talking about gifts, but whatever. So I was trying to figure out an idea for Thomas's Christmas gifts, and he is extremely knit-worthy for socks. He loves knit socks, and he wears them all the time, and I feel like he needs more. And we kind of joked about like his ideal socks would just have like pizza slices and cats on them. So we made this joke because after I put out my Flocking Good Time socks, he made a joke about how he wanted a Thomas's Good Time socks, and it would just be pizza and cats. And like pizza is kind of his like comfort food, his go-to. If he's had a bad day, pizza will solve everything. He even has a shirt that says, "I wish you were pizza," and it just has like a giant pizza slice on it. So I knew I wanted to make him some pizza socks. And so I decided to just look at what I had in stash and then come up with a chart and then chart a pattern. So this isn't a pattern I'm gonna sell or anything. It's just something I am working on for fun. So I decided that the motif is basically gonna be like breadsticks and pizza. So this is the chart that I came up with. So it's just little pizza slices, and this is really just meant to be a fun motif, but you know, they're breadsticks. So I charted this knowing full well that this is going to be mostly 3 colors. So I'm thinking that it's just gonna be like, we're gonna have the cuff, and then we're just gonna have the leg will have all of the color work. And then for the foot, I don't know, I might do some sort of ribbing or broken rib or something like that, and then have contrast toe and heel. But okay, I have so many yarns, I'm trying not to lose all my stitches. Okay, let's see. So that is, can you even see? I am like trying not to lose all the stitches as I show you my progress. So that is where we're at right now. So these are the pizza slices. I need to finish the pizza motif to make sure that the tension is okay. Like I said, this entire thing is basically holding 3 colors, and it's, you know, on fingering weight on size 1.5. It's US 1.5, which is a 2.5 millimeter needle. So I do want to make sure the tension is actually okay. It's quite stiff. Let me see if I can show you. Like, no, I can't show you, but when you pull, I'm going to do this and lose all my stitches. When you pull here, you have some tension even with the color work. But when you pull here, it's not really, nothing's really happening. And I expect that a little bit just because, I mean, let me show you my insanity that is the floats. It's just everything is wrapped because I'm trapping floats constantly, and I'm trying to trap the floats at different intervals so it's not, so you don't get like the weird laddering effect of the traps. But with that, it means that it's creating a very dense, very firm piece of fabric. And, you know, I want to make sure he can actually get these on his foot. So I think I need to finish the pizza motifs to make sure I've got enough room for him to work with. Otherwise, I might need to rip back the pizza motif and go up a size. So I will chat with you a little bit about what I did. This is actually it's a similar setup to what I did for his Viking socks, if you have watched previously. So for a normal sock, for like using your standard vanilla sock recipe, he typically wears a 72 stitch sock. So what I do is using a US 1, which is a 2.25 millimeter needle, I cast on 72 stitches and I knit a 2x2 cuff. Sorry, I'm trying to get this close so you can actually see it. I think it's pretty dark right now. So I did 12 rounds of a 2x2 cuff, and then after the 12 rounds, what I do is I switch to the US 1.5, which is the 2.5 millimeter needle, and I do a make one right every 9 stitches, and that allows me to go up to an 80 stitch sock. And I do that because when I'm going up for color work for Thomas, I need to go up not only a needle size, but also an entire sock size in order for him to get the sock over his foot. And that is just what I have found for him. It's interesting because it's different for me. I can just go up a needle size and that's enough for me for color work. But for him, I have to go up a needle size and a sock size. But when I go up a sock size, when I've done that with the cuff as well, I've found that the cuff is actually a little bit loose, and you want the cuff to actually cinch in. So I do the cuff at his normal sock size, and then I do a round of increases, and that's when I begin like the charting. So everything from here down is on a US 1.5, which is a 2.5 millimeter needle. And, you know, with the one by one color work, it's not an issue. This is very flexible. But I am being cognizant of the fact that the 3-color stranded color work down here might be proving a little bit trickier. And I think the first couple of rounds I might have been holding it a little bit tighter than I should have been, just because I was like trying to pay really close attention to the chart while I was doing it, and I'm already losing stitches. And I'm throwing my stitch marker at you. That's okay. Wait one while I rescue my stitches. Okay. So yeah, like I said, let me see. I'm more than halfway done with the with the pizza slices. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 5 more rows to do. And I've set it up to where there are actually 4 colors being used during the pizza slices, but I'm able to slip at least one of the colors on those rows. So I'm never doing more than 3 colors. But all of these rows are at least 3 colors, and that is tricky. It's just tricky for tension, and it's especially tricky on a sock because it's just such, you're already at such a tight tension. So, yeah, we're gonna see how these work out. Like I said, I might have to rip back and redo just the pizza section using a US 2 needle, which is a 2.75 millimeter, but we will see. So this is my prototype. This is my test to see how it works. And like I said, I'm actually using all yarn that I had in stash, and it is all Hazel Knits Artisan sock. So the main color that I am using is Vivian, which is this really nice dark teal. And then for the breadsticks and the pizza crust, I am using Dulce de Leche. And this is actually some leftover yarn I used from my Flocking Good Time socks. And then the other 2 colors are both from my Trim the Tree socks, which worked out super well. So the actual like cheesy portion of the pizza is this yellow Safety First. And then the pepperoni and the sauce is in Scarlet. So it's a bit of a tangle right now, and I'm trying to keep it as organized as I can. But I do actually think these are going to be really fun, and assuming I can get them with enough tension to where there's a little bit of give, I think he's gonna really love these socks because they're just fun, and who doesn't love pizza socks? So yeah, I'll keep you posted on how this goes. The other thing about these socks, because they are for Thomas for Christmas, I can only knit these in certain windows of time when he's not around. So yeah, I'm hoping to get a decent amount of work done on them, but it has to be when I'm working from home and he's in the office, and you know, I have time to work on them. So anyway, that is my other work in progress. I technically have a 3rd work in progress, which is the a summer tee that I am designing, which I cannot share. I'm actually blocking it right now. It's not done, but I'm blocking it at a stage to see where the length is because it might be close to being done. So that's getting exciting because we're starting to see progress on that, and that should be done super soon. But that's it for me for knitting today. I do have another acquisition that is not knitting related. And this is actually really nice because this was a gift from a friend. So I made this new group of friends during over the summer, and we hung out for a few days in a row, and then we got back to like reality, and we haven't seen each other much, but we keep up really vigorously, I guess, on our text group, or like group chat. So we chat a lot on there. And on my birthday, when Thomas took me out and we did some just like fun shopping, and I found these artist prints that I just fell in love with, and her name is Janet Hill, and she is an artist and author based out of Canada. And there were just these prints that I just really loved. So I bought a few of them, and you might have seen around Halloween, I had one of the prints up here. It's just kind of this like dark, feminine, moody kind of vibe, and also like slightly whimsical. And there's just something about it that really spoke to me. So after I came home, I did a deep dive on all of her artwork, and I perused her website, and I found out that she's got a bunch of books because she's also an author, and she has all of these side projects which are really cool. So she has her main Instagram, which is Janet Hill Studio, and then she has, you can get original prints from, I think it's, I have it written down here, it's called The Mansion Girls, is that Instagram. And then she has a third Instagram, which is called The Everlasting Dreary, which is like a side project that she's doing where she has written a book and illustrated it. And she just posts a new chapter and those illustrations on Instagram as different tiles. Just like at a, I don't actually know what the cadence is, but she's slowly kind of just posting all of that, and so you can read just little bits at a time and see her illustrations with it, which I just think is really cool. And I think, I want to say that one, I think that novel and the illustrations, she said, were inspired by her dollhouse, and it seems like kind of like a gothic Dracula vibe in a way, which I don't know, there's just something about it that just like, I just love it. It's so fun and whimsical, but it's still really feminine, and she also leans into like the feminine villains and having, I guess just the idea of women playing a larger role in everything and it not having to be so stereotypical. So, so I went down that rabbit hole, like mega deep dive, was just like, I couldn't believe, I just basically fell in love with this author and illustrator, all because I found some really cool prints, and one of which had some cats in it, which obviously that was the thing that like sold me, let's be honest. And so I was just sharing all of this with our text group, and I was just sharing all of these different, all the Instagram pages and all of the different prints that I liked, and we were all kind of like talking about which ones we liked and which ones spoke to us and how cool the whole thing was. So fast forward like a couple of months, we finally got together for a dinner last week, and one of our friends brought each of us one of her books, and she actually gave each of us different books depending on our leanings, I guess. So these are technically children's books that she does. So she also has done a few children's books. And so this one is Life Lessons for a Cat Countess. I don't know if it's Miss Mink and then Life Lessons for a Cat Countess is the name. But then there's also one that she does for dogs. And so one of my friends got the dog one, and obviously I got the cat one. And this is just actually a really sweet, like, illustrated kids book, but I also just think it's amazing. And there's just some really fun, it's just like basic life lessons. So you have this one, and this is actually the print, one of the prints that I bought. And the life lesson is, don't be afraid to voice your opinion loudly. And then that is the print. But there's just, I don't know, it's just such a fun, whimsical, feminine vibe. I just love it so much. And so the fact that she brought these to our dinner, it just made my day. And I mean, look at that. Look at that. The artwork is just so fantastic. I could buy every single one of these prints and hang them up all over my house, and I just might. So, if this is your jam, definitely take a look. Like, it's just, I would say it's like feminine, whimsical, old Hollywood with a little kick of, I don't know, gothic leanings? I'm not sure, but it's just so fantastic. So this was really fun, and this will be a part of my library and just something that's fun to flip through. And I'm just so delighted by it. And yeah, that does it for acquisitions, but it also kind of segues into our book chat. And so last week I was talking to you guys about how I was reading The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and that is by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I have since finished that book and I very much enjoyed it. I will warn that near the end it does get quite heavy. It gets pretty heavy. However, I did very much enjoy it. It's just one of those books that you pick up and you just read it in a couple of days with no problem at all. Like it's such an easy read. You just always wanted to know more. You wanted to know what was going to happen. And I thoroughly enjoyed the book. You know, it's definitely a little bit heavy. It's got some serious themes that it talks about, but it was a very quick and enjoyable read. So I'm really glad I read that. And because so many people recommended me to, I am now starting Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. So I've officially started it. I'm not super far in. I just started it a couple nights ago. So I don't know. I am like 15% of the way through, maybe 20%. I'm not sure. It's still very, very early. But yeah, so far I guess I'm enjoying it. I mean, not much has happened yet, so we'll see how it goes, but a ton of people have recommended this series to me, so I'm looking forward to reading through that. But that is basically it for everything I've got this week. Like I said, this was definitely a bit of a lighter week for me. But thank you so much for watching. Again, thank you so much for your support with my Trim the Tree patterns and with all of my other patterns. I really appreciate it. It's so fun to see you guys knitting these up, and it really makes my day. So thank you so much for watching. If you would like to get in touch with me, I am meeshyfrazz on Instagram and Ravelry. You can email me at meeshyfrazz@gmail.com, and you can find me at my blog, which is meeshyfrazzknits.com. And so I will see you next time. Thanks. Bye.